You're listening to Popcorn and Politics. What's the real deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Asking the hard-hitting questions you want answers to. From political leaders and political hopefuls from around the world.
Good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of Popcorn and Politics. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, along with my co-host, Derek J. Wilson. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. How was your Christmas?
It was nice. I drank wine Christmas Eve night, and I stayed up to 4 o'clock playing Pluck, and then I played
Oh,
Heads Up. And it's funny because I don't drink wines, but it was a weak wine. It was hilarious because they were like, that wine must have been weak because I'm not a drinker. And I had a couple of glasses, and I was like, and I was still fine. I was like, oh yeah, that's some weak wine right there. But it was nice. How about yours?
I was good. The kids and I, we just hung around the house all day. They played they new games and whatnot, and then we went to go get something to eat. Christmas Eve, we went bowling, so that was fun. Uh, you know, I ain't gonna say how much I bowled, but 232 or somewhere in that area. You know, I ain't gonna say if it was me or somebody else, but that number was out there.
For those of you who don't know, I know Derek, so I'm not gonna say whether it was him or somebody else either. I won't say it either.
It was
Um,
great to watch, though. I'll tell you that.
yeah, let me tell you, I bowl in the league on Thursdays, and it was so funny. One of my daughter's friends was talking to me, and he said, "You bowl in the league? You a real professional?" I was like, "Nah, I won't go that far, but I do bowl every Thursday. I'm not a real professional. They do 232s. Me, I'm lucky if I get a 132. I'm like, broke the 100 this time. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah, that's me. I'd be excited.
yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
if I don't break 100, I'm like, oh my god, I suck. Like,
I'd be
but
in
the most,
frame nine at 98, and the
ooh,
guy next to me in frame nine at 215. Oh,
yeah,
okay, you know.
yeah. Like that must mean we suck. It's so funny because we bowl for money. So somebody asked, was it you that asked me, do we bowl for we bowl because we bowl for money.
Yeah,
So those people are not playing like it's a league and we are there to get paid. And so last season, we came in last place. I had a lot going on. We had a lot going on in our family, both Georgette and my husband, myself, and our bowler. So we came in with a whopping 1350. And so the other person on our team, I said to him, "You want me to bring your money?" He said, "Please, Orgy, don't worry about it." It was 13, I think it was $13.75. It was crazy. Like we paid $19 a week just to put that in perspective. So for the whole season, we walked away with $13.75 each. Put that in
yeah,
perspective. Yeah, that was terrible.
yeah.
That was
That was
terrible.
horrible. That
Yeah,
was horrible.
anyway, y'all, let's get on with this show. This is where we talk about popcorn and politics. Listen, we promise 2022, we're gonna have popcorn.
Yes, yes, yes. I got some popcorn already in the back of my mind that I'm gonna try out on air, especially with our special guest. That's gonna be one of the things we're gonna have to start doing. Make sure we get the guests some popcorn so they can sit back, relax, and eat their popcorn and answer these questions.
Yeah, because we got a nice lineup. So we gave you a lot of them last week, and we're gonna be adding to that lineup moving forward for the rest of 2022 because this is gonna be one of those historical election years coming up. We already know that. So, but we know what
Yeah.
before we get into like what's happening, we're gonna do a year review. We're gonna talk about what went well, what didn't, what we're gonna look forward to. And I got an interesting story, Jack, I want to share with you. I thought this was pretty interesting, but let's talk about Herschel Walker first. So Derek's like, why would he keep talking about him? I was like, because he in the news. Like that's what
Yeah.
happens. He's in the news, and apparently he is a wealthy man, y'all. He's a wealthy man, and his net worth right now is between 29 million and 65 million. And a lot of people were saying, he has more money than everybody that's run against him. So my question to Derek was, do you think that's gonna help him win the race? Maybe, maybe not. What's your thoughts?
Well, just a quick response. It didn't help Loeffler.
True.
I mean, she's a billionaire, if I'm not mistaken. She wasn't she the CEO of Home Depot, and then she had a WNBA basketball team. I mean, she had the money, and she was going against what was her title she gave him? radical, the
Mm,
radical Warnock. Yeah.
mhm.
So you know, at the end of the day, money helps. Let's not be in denial or naive about the situation. Money does help, but money doesn't buy. Uh, you know, like again, Loeffler had way more money than Warnock. That's just an example. I think Perdue had more money than Ossaw.
Oh yeah.
So I
That's
mean,
true.
it, you know, so those two clearly lost, and they have the most money. So Warnock and Ossoff won handedly, and you know we shall see. But he does have a lot of money, but Herschel Walker has a lot. I mean, his scale is like balanced when it come down to the money and his the things that are against him. I mean, he falsified information about his schooling. He has no real qualifications to be a senator, maybe a city council at best. And he has a semi track record of abuse to women. A couple of women done came out and said against that. It's not even. I mean, we don't even know if he's even a Georgia resident. I mean, his wife and him, if I'm not mistaken, had their ballots mailed to them in Texas. So,
Mm,
but as we know with other, state sen, U.S. senators like Mitt Romney, you don't necessarily have to live in that state in order to run for Senate. I believe is some type of something you can do. I think in Mitt Romney case, being that he's a Mormon and in the church of the Mormon church is real big in Utah, so I think they're able to get some type of exception, so that's how he was able to run for senator in the state of Utah. I don't know. I have to look more into that, but I do know it's questionable that this man live in Texas.
Do
So,
you think the Republicans are backing him because he's a black man and they want to have somebody to go against Warnock, hoping to get the black vote?
that's their MO. I mean, Obama win, they hire Michael Steele as the
Mm,
Republican chair, and we all know Michael Steele was a puppet because at that time Rush Limbaugh was the spokesperson for the Republican Party, officially and unofficial. So I mean they have a track record of doing that. Where you go black, we gonna go black too. You get a
mm,
woman, you get a woman, we gonna get a woman too. You know, uh, and yeah, like John McCain, him picking Sarah Palin was only because he thought Obama was going to pick Hillary Clinton,
mm-hmm,
and so he was trying to be, preemptive and end up costing him the election because that was the detriment of his campaign by selecting Sarah Palin. But
mm-hmm,
I mean, I'm nowhere near a Republican, but there were far more Republican female candidate that could have been a better candidate than Sarah Palin. I mean, you had
mm-hmm,
this U.S. Senator at that time, Kay Bailey Hutchinson, out of Texas. I mean, you had Condoleezza Rice. I mean, just so many. So and you go pick a no name governor out of Alaska that turned your campaign into a reality show. So
mm.
I think that's what they're doing. I mean, Herschel Walker, but he's Trump supported, and that's about it. I mean, he's going to be a force dollar wise, but in a Republican primary because there's so many other Republicans that are beating him up. But that's what they made for. Go ahead, beat each other up. Give us some fuel to use. And we're gonna keep it running. But I don't
Speak-
think he'll make it though.
Speaking of beating up a Republican, so President Biden rejected Kemp's bill to enforce this mandate that you can get Medicaid, but you gotta be have a certain work status. And he's like, it not gonna happen. And so a lot of people, and it's crazy because they try to spin and say, oh, you don't want people to have, health care. Really? That's how you're gonna spin that story.
Well, so if we're being honest, this is really go back to 2000 and what 8 or 9 when the Affordable Health Care Act was put in place, and at that time the states had an opportunity to provide health care Medicaid expansion throughout the state, and it would 90% of it would have been covered by the states. I mean, by the federal government. But Georgia and of course a lot of other red states, they rejected it, and so now we're in a situation where we are, where you have tens of millions of residents throughout the state, throughout the country. You have over 10 million throughout the country, but you have millions of residents throughout the state that do not have medical insurance, and some of it is due to low income, the cost. I mean, if you work in a job that's paying you part-time hours, then they're not required to provide you with health care. So that means you have to get your health care somewhere else. And that may be too expensive. If you got a car note, mortgage, rent, groceries. Yeah, it's just, and so right now at this time, it's just so much. I've said it in so many times, which we're probably gonna dive into it later on um, in January as one of our guests that's actually running for insurance commissioner here in the state of Georgia. But I've said it so many times that right now it's just so much money available um, through all the different, the American Rescue Act, the CARES Act, that if the state of Georgia was to expand Medicaid, it'll be covered by the federal government up to 98%. That's like, it's better to do it now than ever. But
Right.
if Trump would have proposed that, oh man, they would have opened the doors. But
Mm,
it's and and then interesting, like we said last week, um, people don't vote for their better, for their, for what's best for them, because if you do the numbers, it's not all minorities that are on Medicaid
yeah,
or food stamps. So um,
absolutely.
you know, and it's not all minorities that's walking around with no insurance,
That's right.
and it's not all Democrats. So
Yeah.
if you again, like I said last week, how about you sit down and read what's going on, and I guarantee you, a lot of y'all are voting against your what's best for you and your household. And
And,
so
and and that's the crazy thing. Like I feel like I just I will never understand that. I just won't. But we are gonna have Matthew Wilson on the show, and he said we've known we've known that this has been coming, and he said we know how to fix it. That's what Matthew says, and we're gonna have him on the show, y'all. So he's gonna tell us how he's gonna fix that. Right now, he's a state representative, and he's running for the insurance commissioner for the state of Georgia. And so he said, we knew this was coming, but we know how to fix it. So when he comes on the show, we're gonna ask him, how you gonna fix that?
how
What's
you
your
gonna
what's
fix
your
it?
plan to
Right.
fix that? And my question is, what is the pushback for not passing it? Like I don't get that part. So is it too expensive? But like you said, it's a lot of money floating around right now.
Well, that's what the Republicans are saying is too expensive for the state. And then of course, we say it's a lot of money, but they say, oh well, it's going to increase the deficit. Uh, as I stated in previous shows, the only time the Republican Party is concerned about the deficit is when there's a Democrat in office, because we can go back to every Republican president where the deficit increased, where yet uh, every Democrat president, except maybe Obama, where the deficit actually decreased. Clinton decreased the deficit and balanced the budget. Obama was in one of the worst recessions since the Great Depression, that he had to do what he had to do in order to, so his efforts in saving the country economically, uh, one of the, I guess the downfalls was the deficit increase. Trump deficit increase. Bush deficit increased due to the wars. Uh, Daddy Bush deficit increased due to the Gulf Storm, Desert Storm, and his just bad finance budgeting and everything. Reagan, we can't even talk about Reaganomics, how the deficit increased. Every time Republicans cut taxes, they think it's supposed to, you cut taxes for the wealthy, and obviously we supposed to somehow make up this revenue elsewhere, and that doesn't happen that way. The deficit increased because there's less revenue coming in through the tax revenue, and so many loopholes. You got companies like Amazon who brings in billions upon billions of dollars a year in revenue or profit, and they pay zero taxes. Zero.
You know,
That's
some
more
people
than
may
that's more than you and I.
I know, but you know,
Or
some
less
people
than
may
you and I.
argue that the reason Amazon does not pay taxes is because it employs so many people. And so that could be an argument that, well, they employ so many people, you know, so maybe they should deserve this tax break.
I mean, a tax break, not no taxes. I mean, you know, when you got the people that you employ so many people, and you're paying them $14 an hour, but yet they're paying 10% of they income, annually income in taxes, while you're paying zero of your profits.
Mm,
You're still making billions upon billions of profits, and you
yeah,
telling me that you can't afford to pay 5%,
yeah.
hell, 10%. You still got a couple of billion left over.
A couple.
You
Whew,
know,
did you find
billion.
billions? Like
Yeah, with a
I didn't
B.
even know Jeff Bezos was worth so much money until like a couple of weeks ago. I read an article and I was like, he's worth what? 200
I
and
think he's the richest in the world.
two hundred and
Him is,
seven billion dollars, 207 billion.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
what? That's a lot of money.
yeah.
He could,
Him, Bill Gates,
yeah.
and mind you, Jeff,
Elon is
yeah,
number two.
Elon. And then
Yeah.
you got some black people out of Nigeria, Africa.
Are
Africa
they
do
up?
have some billionaires.
Yeah, it does. It has the most black billionaires, as a matter of fact. But are they up in the hundreds of billions, like tens of billions?
I know this black guy who was big in oil. He he's up there. He's in the top five. Because I want to say out of the top 10, it was a if he's still alive, it was a guy out of Mexico, communications guy out of
Yes,
Mexico.
Carlos Slim.
Yeah, yeah, he was up there in the top 10.
Hmm.
And then you had one or two billionaires out of Nigeria. One is a female, and then
Hmm.
one
Hmm.
is a guy, and they was up there, and then the rest of them are like Americans, I guess. But
Yeah,
uh, I mean, but I did not know that Africa had the most billion. Like, I didn't know that. You said they had the
yeah,
most billionaires
yeah. Because think about this. Think about this for a second. Africa has a lot of natural
resources.
resources. A
Yeah.
lot of them. I have a friend. He was a client, then he became a friend, and he's from Liberia. He is buying salt mines, and I said to him, "What do you mean salt mine?" He said, "Well, where they mine salt." So in my mind, I'm thinking, "Well, I thought salt came out of the ocean." No, there are salt mines. You know,
Oh, okay.
they have palm trees where the oil just is right there in the tree. So I said to him, he had asked me a couple of years ago, what can he do with that palm oil? I was like, make soap. Like in my mind, that popped right out of my head, like make soap. Like so, it was a project that he and I was working on for women. And I said to him, employ them by teaching them how to become soap makers and using palm oil, which is a resource natural to your region. It's amazing. Like that's why I want to go to Africa. And people are like, why you want to go to Africa? I want to go to Africa. That's on my to-do list on one of these good old days. So that's my
Yeah.
pick.
Well, getting back to that, I would love to go to Africa too. Just put that out there.
We should do
Uh,
a mission trip since you are the president of the chamber.
well, thank you. We should look into that. I love that
Yes.
plug.
Hmm.
We should look into that.
Hmm.
Uh, but getting back to our the insurance part. The Georgia State Rep Sam Park, he posted on Twitter because the Republicans are, as usual, they're blaming the Democratic president of, costing people their insurance. And State Rep Sam Park said what's shameful is blaming Biden and others for the GA Republicans' ongoing failure and refusal to expand Medicaid. So this is going to be a good fight going into the next session in January to see how that pans out. And being that, like you said, that one of our guests, State Rep Matthew Wilson, is a state rep, I wonder how that would change his platform or his campaign if they were to pass, the expansion of Medicaid during this session. Will that mean he has nothing to run on? Like, that'd be an interesting you know,
Mm,
question. But as a state rep, like that is their job. So, uh, you doing your job is great.
right,
and,
right.
and so,
Well,
but I
they
just
said
wonder what is. I'm
Same
listening.
thing with Stacey. They says that was one of the top things that she is on her agenda, Medicaid expansion. So same thing. What will
Right.
happen? You
You
know,
know, you want them to do their job, but now you got to go change your whole campaign plan because now they're doing it well. And speaking of Stacey Abrams, the big lie that Trump is pushing about the 2020 election, that it was stolen and he refused to concede. Well, now that Stacey Abrams has jumped back into the campaign cycle to run for governor of Georgia, the Republicans are saying, well, Stacey was the one that originally created the big lie, since she refused to concede to Governor Kemp in 2018. They're saying that there's no difference in what she did, and calling the Democrats, hypocrites. Uh, and based on one Republican strategist in Georgia, it said Democrats attack Trump and Republicans for believing these conspiracies, believe in what they called the big lie, but the original big lie proponent was Stacey Abrams. And I find that to be laughable, because the fact that Stacey Abrams was running against the current Secretary of State. So, and people are like, what does that mean? So imagine playing a basketball game when your opponent is also the ref.
right,
So, every
right,
time you go down, every time you try to shoot the ball or go down, they hacking you and slapping you in all across your back. And then every time your opponent get the ball, you sneeze and they calling fouls. And I mean, it was just so many things that transpired during that 2018 election, during the governor's election. I mean, the other elections were fine, but
hmm,
they made sure that Kemp was the guy counting the votes.
right,
Y-
right,
that's what's totally different. It's not like, it'd be different if Biden was the one counting the votes, and Trump lost. And okay, I can see Trump's argument if he felt like Biden did something, you know, funny when it came down to counting. But that wasn't the case. Stacey Abrams was running against the same guy that was in charge of counting the votes. Instead of him
right,
stepping down and seeing a conflict of interest, which is very interesting, because the government conflicts of interest are very interesting, to say the least. The things that are cut and dry conflicts are never conflicts. It be the
right,
ones that, you know, because your cousin work here, that's a conflict. But if I'm running for president and my brother is the governor of a state, and all of a sudden that state is a problem, that's no conflict there.
right,
you know,
exactly,
uh, you
exactly,
know, or if I'm running for governor and I'm the secretary of state that's in charge of elections, I don't have to step down, or at least recuse myself from the election. Nah, that's not a conflict at all.
exactly. Well, we
So
know we know it's two different standards when it comes to this thing. We already know that. It's like being black in America. It's two different standards. So we know there's
it's a
two
whole
different
lot of
standards in
standards.
politics all together. Let's look at this year though. We had a lot going on this year. We had our year in review is going to be great when you look at where next year is going to be. And I want to let me say this real quick. There is a young lady over in Duluth. She's Muslim, and she was saying that for some reason, and this made me think about when you were talking about the Mexicans in Texas. When I read this article, she was saying that for some reason they think Muslim women don't vote. And they do vote. Now she's thinking about getting into politics. And she was saying that anytime they think about Muslims, they always think about policies that's aimed at counterterrorism. And they say they got way more issues than those things. And I thought about you when you talked about Mexican, when they talk about immigration. Like, listen, we're in America just like you are. Why do you think our issues are immigration or counterterrorism? Why are those the only issues that pertain to us? And where we stand. So I thought that was pretty interesting. So she said, you know what, I'm in Duluth. I might throw my hat in the ring, and I think that's pretty.
Uh,
And she's 28 years old, so she's young too. So I think
oh,
that's gonna
okay.
be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. I mean, I think we as a nation need to remove ourselves from this racial politics that we call. I mean, because just because I'm black don't mean I'm low income.
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
they want to, every time they talk about African Americans, they want to talk about low income or low paying jobs, and like, no, that's not the case. So uh, I mean, I think we need to stop trying to put people in these groups as based on their race. I mean, educated, uneducated, and so I'm educated because I don't have a college degree. That's a little upsetting for people who don't have a college degree. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when when if you look at some of the, I mean, they have college degrees now, but if you look at when they got their money, they didn't have college degrees. Bill Gates dropped
Mm-hmm.
out of college.
Yep.
You know, uh, what's the dude? It's on the tip of my tongue.
Michael
Facebook.
Dell,
Michael
Mark
Dell, Facebook,
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg, all of them dropped out
Mm-hmm.
of college.
Yep.
So prior to them becoming billionaires and getting a degree, were they uneducated?
Right.
you know, so now for me, when I say an uneducated voter, I'm talking about them voting without knowing who they voting for or why they're voting. You just voting
Mm-hmm.
for someone because they have a letter next to their name. You know,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's R or D, you just voting because that's how your mama vote, or
Mm-hmm.
that's uneducated for me. But
Right.
when they do these statistics and they say women voters and uneducated women and they- I guess they're basing that on college degrees, and a college degree does not make you necessarily smarter than the next. Look at Ben Carson, just you know, because according to Ben Carson,
Ooh.
we came over
Ooh.
here as indentured servants, servitude,
And he's a doctor, just in case y'all didn't know that.
yeah, oh yeah, a doctor Ben Carson. So
Doctor.
you know that means nothing. Look at old buddy, may he rest in peace, Herman Cain.
Ooh.
So um, again, a degree doesn't make you educated. But like you
Right.
said, this year in politics here in Georgia, it started off with a bang. With January 5th was the that runoff election between the two senators, as well as the public service commission race. So unfortunately, Daniel Blackman lost the public service commission race, but he is now the EPA administrator for the
Mm.
South region. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I didn't get the state seat, but now he's the federal watchdog. If I'm not mistaken, I believe his position now is the federal overseer of the state position that he was running for. Like,
Wow.
yeah, that's
How to
that's a
level
lie,
up right there. That's what you
right?
call leveling up, baby. That's leveling up
Leveling it
right
up.
there.
But so yeah, January 5th was the election that brought us the our first black a black U.S. senator in the state of Georgia, and I believe he is the first black to be elected statewide outside of judicial seats. So kudos to Senator Warnock as well as Senator John Ossoff. They both won in January 5th, and we already know what transpired the next day, January 6th. So we not gonna
Mm-hmm.
get them no, we not gonna get them any time other than
Mm-hmm.
time that requires some concrete, uh,
And some metal.
and some metal, yeah. And then on March 25th, that's when the Republican controlled Georgia Assembly, they upset about the way that the election turned out, and basically, although the Secretary of State and the governor stood up to Trump, they still pushed uh part of a lie. As my grandma would say, a little lie is just as bad as a big lie because it's all a lie. And so
Amen.
March 25th is when they uh, pushed that Senate Bill 202, which basically replaced the signature match verification process for absentee ballots when an ID requirement restricts the location of ballot drop boxes and prohibit non-poll workers from handing out food and drinks within 150 feet of voters standing in line. Again, um, uh, our guest coming up, one of our guests coming up next month, will have some good insight on that because if I'm not mistaken, he got arrested for handing out pizza. So during the election, so that's going to be you know yet again, nationwide states are Republican states are passing these voter bills or laws to disenfranchise, low income minority voters by making it less accessible to vote. That's why we need on the federal level the Voters' Right Act to be pushed through, which was championed by our very own Senator Warnock just this past week, right before Christmas, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and then you have, August 25th, womp womp. That's when Herschel Walker. That's when
Announced.
Herschel Walker announced that he was jumping into the Senate election, who was convinced to run by Trump, So that's going to be interesting. We talked about that earlier, so we ain't gonna give him no more time and day. And then November 22nd is when here in Georgia they started the special session for redistricting, and that's going on, or that took place over the country, all over the country. Uh, all you have to do is Google redistricting, and you'll see all the lawsuits and all the fighting and back and forth between Democrats and Republicans try to turn. Which is interesting though. They do have a stronghold on state government, uh,
Mm,
and so they're trying to turn that state government into a federal grasp, by rewriting some congressional districts and hoping that that will give them majority in the House of Representatives, and can change the trajectory of the next 10 years in this country. Uh, I don't think it's going to work, but we shall see. Because think about it, 10 years ago, and in these same states, the Republicans were still in charge. And
right.
so as you see, at every year, especially in Georgia, every election cycle, uh, the state is becoming more blue, as more liberal as they come, and more progressive. Uh, and people say, "Oh, well, that's not true." Maybe not on the state level when it come down to the state House representatives and state senators, but how many how many counties were completely red 10 years ago? And
Mm-hmm.
and Gwinnett County is a perfect example. They haven't had a Democrat on their board in over 30 years. It was 1980s the last time they had a Democrat on the board. So not only do they have a Democrat on the board, but in 2018 they never had a minority on the board in 200 years.
Wow.
Well,
That's crazy.
now, yeah, now the board is completely Democrat, and is completely minority.
Yeah.
Uh, so change is coming, and change is already here, and is only gonna get better as time go by, and so. And that's that. And nothing really special happened after that. Well, November 24th is not politics, but it can be a political issue, where the Ahmaud Aubrey case. Well, actually, it did become last year. Uh, the House of Representatives and the House representatives and state senators, they passed a law that eliminated the citizen arrest.
Mm-hmm.
Because the
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey case was supposed to have been a case of citizen arrest, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was a 2020 legislative deal that took place, or maybe was it earlier this year? I think
I
it
think it
was
was
last.
earlier this year.
Okay, because the murder took place last year.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was earlier this year, in the session that happened in January. So
Yeah.
okay, so November 24th they was found guilty, and now they're being sentenced. And December 6th is when Senator Perdue uh, announced that he's going to challenge Governor Kemp. And like we said a couple of weeks ago, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
You
That's gonna be
know,
a big one.
yeah, that's a big
They,
one.
we'll be watching that one closely because we know that you got some powerhouses bumping heads, and Stacy's.
Yeah,
They said Stacy's wishing everybody Merry Christmas while them two bumping heads. Like, go ahead, bump. Y'all bump
yeah,
each other out. But like you
that's
said,
the
Derek, we don't think either one of them could be Stacy. We really don't, because I think when it comes to the work that she's done past the 2018 election year. She's done some amazing work. You know, when she
Right.
started Fair Fight Georgia, she was talking about Fair Fight Georgia for all voters, not just not just certain voters, for everybody. And I think people
Right.
recognize the hard work that she's put out there. And even if they were one way, they may say, you know what, we need something new because this one right here and that one right, we need something new. That because that's what happened. That's what happens, right? That's how Trump got in. We need something new, and we
Need
got
something new.
him. Yeah. So,
Well,
you
well, Trump got in because he scraped the bottom of the pot and stirred it up. And so anybody that's a cooker know that if you scrape that bottom of the pot
know,
and you got stuff stuck in there, now it's all mixed in with your food and it turned your gumbo into some burnt gumbo now. So it ain't that ain't good. And so
yeah.
that's what happened. We still trying to cipher out the burnt pieces that that made America well America yeah, that made America more toxic and leave it at that.
No, it's gonna be interesting to see how they handle the whole voting situation, though, because with polls being closed, ballots can't be mailed in at a certain time. They can't be mailed out. It's gonna be interesting to see how the voters get to go to the poll and vote. And some people, if they only have one ballot box in the middle of nowhere, and you
Yeah.
can't get it, how's that going to work? So that's going to be real interesting to see too. Because we know that that's one some of the things they're doing. Where they're gonna put the ballot boxes inside the building, so now you got to go inside. If the building
Inside
is
the
closed, you
building.
can't like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have to go to so such such a extreme? Because people don't want you. That's pretty much.
Right.
It's like they don't want you, suck it up, move on. But
And
no, we're
move
gonna go
on.
to the extreme and force you to want me. We're gonna force y'all to want us. So I think that's pretty crazy. But one of the things I said, like, listen, we got to go put people on some buses and drop them off at the polls. I mean, listen, that's what we got to do. And I feel like that's
Goes
going
to
to
the
be the
polls.
extreme we have to go through because people who can't get to like I'll give you a prime example. Last year, um, my mom, she and my uncle, they never went to the ballots because they couldn't go. They couldn't stand in line. So I would just take their ballots and go, right? But I would forget sometimes and drop it off outside because the ballot box was outside. And okay, so now there's no ballot boxes that's going to be outside. What do you do? So we're gonna have to help. We're gonna have to help them figure this thing out. But we need to make sure that every vote is counted and that everybody who wants to get a chance to vote get a chance to cast their ballot. So it's gonna be interesting. 2022 is gonna be a really interesting year moving forward, and I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
That's what made last year so unprecedented because the first time in American history the Republican Party agreed to allow access to everybody. And then like, wait a minute. We can't do that because when we start letting access, when we start making access to people, we gonna lose. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because the first one was when they sent out here in the state of Georgia, they mailed out um, absentee ballots to every registered voter. Oh, they didn't like that. That's illegal. They fought that, and but what that did was it gave people options. We were here in the middle of a pandemic. I gotta determine whether I'm gonna stand in line and face the risk of getting COVID, or you mean I can vote in my own home, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can vote and then now I have the option to put it in the mail. I have the option of dropping it off in at the polling station, or I have an option of just sliding in the drop box. Now all of a sudden, how many times have you heard of somebody breaking into a blue mailbox and
Right.
if the blue
Right.
mailbox is where people put money, gift cards and checks and cash, ain't supposed to, but they put in cash. Everybody know they mail cash through the mail system. And
Right.
how many times those get knocked over? I think you probably
Right.
hear, if you hear about them, I think maybe one or two a year.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden a drop box is not secure.
Right.
I mean, if you put a drop box in a location that already have surveillance, it'll be secure. You
Right.
know, I mean,
Exactly.
every polling location, I would assume is a location that's well lit and that's well lit, that's
Mm-hmm.
well lit, and and have surveillance security.
Right.
So put a drop box right there in front of there. It has light and it has 24-hour surveillance uh,
Right.
with a timestamp. And if that does not have it happen, then the y'all might need to find a new polling location, because why is the polling location not secure? That's,
Right.
that opens. But as I was going through the cycle last year, it was a lot of, because Georgia got these new systems in place, and the training the poll workers in some situations were questionable. A polling location, and it's usually happened in low income, high Democrat areas. Polling location be closed for 2-3 hours because the machine ain't working. Then they sent a technician out there, and come to find out the machine wasn't plugged in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it
Right.
wasn't that the machine. Well, I guess the machine wasn't working because it didn't have electricity. What
Right. Exactly.
so things like that. So I I just like you say, it's very interesting that the one time in a U.S. history when we have an election where at least I want to say 98% of the people that's registered to vote had an opportunity to vote.
Mm-hmm.
you know it had every option. They had drive, in Texas, in Harris County, they had drive in voting.
Yeah.
Like, you go through a drive-in, and they'll verify your information, and they'll bring you the little system to your car. You type your vote, press cash, you see it cash, and you hand it back over, and you drive off. And
That
they
was
had
nice.
24 hours. In Harris County, Texas, they did it 24 hours. Like, I want to say, how you have the 2-3 weeks of early voting, and I want to say the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 or 4 days of the early voting time, they made it 24 hours.
I
So
wonder
people
will
that
it be like. You think it's gonna be like that this year coming up?
probably not, because they, I mean, so Harris County is now kind of like Gwinnett County. Majority is Democrat when it come down to the leadership. But that governor is a Kemp, which is also a Trumper. Um, they sued the county. I don't know the outcome of that, but probably not. Is it's going to be a lot of, because they said it was unconstitutional to have the ballot box open 24 hours and yada yada.
Right.
And I don't see how that's unconstitutional. Because one can argue any early voting is unconstitutional if you want to, because
Argue
the
that.
bat, yeah, because the Constitution is election day.
Right.
Yeah, so whether we doing 24-hour early voting or 8 to 5 early voting, that's not in the Constitution.
Right.
It-
Exactly.
it- so, you can't pick and choose what you want to follow.
Mm.
Either you gonna go by the book, or you gonna go by the new perceptions that people them came up with.
Well, that
So,
depends on which side of the spectrum you're on. You can go by the book depending on where you sit on the spectrum, because we know how that goes. We know how that goes.
right,
So listen, we gonna see what's gonna happen in 2022. We'll be back in 2022, y'all. Because next
yeah,
Sunday it will be 2022, and we got I guess next week is Mr. Austin Thompson. He is the new Lawrenceville councilman, and we want to know what's your first 100 days gonna look like. Because that's
yeah,
like the norm. What's your first 100 days? Like, what's your plan for Lawrenceville for the first 100 days? I'm in Lawrenceville, so I specifically want to know what is that. I love Lawrenceville. I think they're doing a great job here, but let's see what he has to offer, and we're going to give him the opportunity to tell us that. So Austin's going to
yes,
join us next week. So it'll be three of us on the screen, not just Derek and myself. Not just
yes,
it's a new year. We got a banging lineup coming down the pike, starting it off with Austin Thompson. So he'll be back next week. So
yes.
all
And
right,
I'm
Derek, you got any
excited
more?
because,
Yeah, me too.
yes, I'm excited for Austin, because he's a business owner, an entrepreneur, uh, which, so both of us are those
Yes.
entrepreneurs, business owners. He's very active in the community, and like you say, he is now a city councilman in the city of Lawrenceville, and so I'm just excited to see what he has to say, and what different perspective he can bring to the city of Lawrenceville. I don't live in the city of Lawrenceville, but I love how Lawrenceville is like it's turning into a thriving live, work, play community. I love it. I love
It's
it.
beautiful. And I remember when I moved here almost 9 years ago, there was no, and only thing downtown Lawrenceville was down that Krogan Street. Now you got stuff built all around it, and it's pretty cool
Yeah,
because they built all these houses on the lawn. They got the lawn they redid. It's just beautiful. So I love it here, and it's
the
funny because
Roa Theater.
yeah, World Theater and the new Lawrenceville Performing Arts Center, which I can't wait to go see a
Yeah,
show. So and that's beautiful. That's right downtown. They're building a hotel downtown Lawrenceville, which is going to be amazing because now it gives you the opportunity to have a place to go and if you want to do a conference or some meetings and things like that, which we don't have that downtown Lawrenceville right now. Without having
right.
to go through the theater, so that's going to be cool too. So it's a lot of growth. I was driving down there yesterday, and I was going down Jackson Street, and I looked to the right, which is East Krogan, and I said, it's a lot of lights over there. And I need to go on that side because it looks like they built up some stuff on that side too. And I'm all over the place. I'm like, how did I miss that? But so much development is happening so quickly till you could a couple of months you'd have missed some stuff. So I may have missed
Yeah.
some stuff over there going that way. So I had to check that out. But um we got great guests coming on, and thank you so much, Odette Fleming. She said, "Great program. Thank you so much for listening to us. We try to
Oh,
make
thank
sure
you.
that we are, giving you the best that we got here as we move through the political landscape. And so, thank you so much for joining in and you know giving us some kudos. We appreciate that. We appreciate everybody that stopped by, even when you don't say things we might not want to hear. We still appreciate you for tuning in. So,
Oh
because
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, the one thing that make us different from Fox News is we accept all perspectives.
we do, we do,
Yeah.
we do, because sometimes
Just
we,
make
we
sure
need,
you bring it. When you bring it, you can back it up now. Don't
that
don't
is
don't just
true.
throw out no don't throw out no alternative facts.
It's true because we will. Yes, yes. All right. So listen, guys, that's all we got for today. We'll be back again in the new year, 2022, bringing you more great
2022.
guests and more great news. Thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate you for that. And Derek, any closing statements before we say lovey?
Happy New Year, because this is our last episode of 21. So we're gonna say goodbye to 21 as we move forward and look into 22. I wish everyone a prosperous new year and Happy New Year. Thanks for watching. Get your popcorn.
That's
We
right.
should drop a link going forward.
Yeah, we're
Get
gonna
your
drop a link.
popcorn.
We got our favorite. Let me tell y'all what happened. We had popcorn, we ate it all up. I had some caramel, it was delicious. I had caramel, and we ate the popcorn up before the show started, and we have not reordered. So we have to
Yeah,
reorder new. We need to go ahead and order the popcorn so you can get it back by next Sunday.
yeah. Well,
That'll be
I
nice.
doubt
We
it,
will drop a
but
link though. We're gonna drop a link so y'all can get y'all popcorn and join us, because I know you can join us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and Roku. We're all over the place, y'all. We're all over
right.
the place.
And we're planning on expanding next year. I think
We are.
depending on who we can land, we might be doing some in-person interviews too, right? Didn't wasn't that
Absolutely. It's not like we
yeah,
don't have a studio, because we do. I'm
right.
just never there.
We're gonna do some in-person, we might get Obama or somebody, who
That would
knows,
be nice. Listen, we
you
putting it,
know.
we are intentional about who we want to be on this show.
Yeah,
President
you
Obama will
know.
be on the show.
Oh, okay, you said president. I said Obama, yeah, we can
He's
get the
still my president, Dick.
yeah, we can get a third or fourth cousin, as long as we got the last name, we we good, right?
President Obama,
Oh, okay,
president.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
yeah, we definitely, I mean, we're going after big names, and trying to bring them down to speak with the regular people, the everyday people, and answer our questions. And so hopefully, who know, maybe Audrey and I'll be sitting at the White House trying to get in front of Biden,
Hey, we're
so
gonna be at the White House. Everything Derek is saying, I'm just at. We're gonna be at the White House. Popcorn and politics. We're gonna be right out there with everybody else.
yeah, so that's the plan. We plan on doing big things in 22. Picking up some sponsors. That's the goal. Picking up some sponsors as we continue to grow. So anybody that has a business that's looking for some sponsorship opportunities, we are interested. Send us a message, and we can try. I mean, didn't we have like 100,000 some downloads last year or this 21? And that's your combined total, Miss Bell Kearney?
Oh, it's more than that, Derek. Because remember, this show is broadcast in over 100 countries. So the numbers are amazing, and we're growing. And this show is still a baby. My Good Morning Gwinnett show, I've been doing for 3 years, and so that show has just grown with no marketing, just me talking by myself, no guest, no Derek, just me talking. And so I know that Popcorn and Politics is going to be even better, and we're going to reach even more people, because people need to know that there's somebody out there who wants to make sure that they have the necessary information that they need to make better decisions when it comes to voting for the candidate that's going to help them, do the things they got to do. So if you want to be a guest on the show, if you're on politics, you want to be a guest on the show, you can email me, Audrey at Noise Media. If you want to support this show and become a sponsor of the show, also email me, Audrey at noisemedia.us. And we'll be happy to have you.
And we're broadcasting live on America One Radio.
I keep forgetting that. Thank you, America One Radio, for carrying this show. Yes, we are broadcasting live on America One Radio. And Odette, thank you so much. Be intentional. Yes, that's our motto for 2022. Be intentional. Ask what you want and put it out to the universe. And I'm glad we were able to, help you learn some more about some things in politics. So thank you.
Where are you located? If I like the Odette Planning. Is that Planning?
Fleming.
Oh,
Odette
Fleming.
Fleming.
What ALC?
Where you're located.
Yeah.
If you can drop us a link real quick, I'll let them know.
Yeah, see where you located. See where we getting all this love from.
I know, right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, somebody listened to the show one day. It was hilarious. It wasn't hilarious, and we're gonna go after this, but I gotta say this story real quick. So there was a gentleman listening to the show, Derek, and he was the founder of the Tea Party here in Georgia. And he called me on the phone, and we had a 1-hour conversation. And I was like, what in the world he possibly want to talk to me about? And he was saying, I'm starting a news company and I need your help. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm still struggling with that. Like, okay,
Hey, we might need to do a one-on-one interview on live. Let him, put his perspective out there, and we tear it down, or who knows?
Down.
We might walk away and be like, never
That was
know.
pretty interesting. He wanted to hire me, and I was like, oh, I didn't know how I felt about that. Odette is from Douglasville. Okay, welcome, Douglasville.
Okay, Douglasville. Thank you for listening.
Backyard. Yeah.
Thank you for listening.
Yes. But you never know who's listening. So the fact that this is a progressive show, and I had a gentleman reach out to me who was a Tea Party founder to help him launch a show, a network like my network. So Noise Media Network is a network. It's a media network. He said, I see you. I know you know what you're doing. I need your help. I was like, okay, I don't know what to do about that. But anyway, that's all we got for you today. We'll be back again next Sunday in the new year. Listen, guys, y'all stay safe out there. Keep your mask on. I know we want to get back to somewhat of a normal life, but coronavirus is still out there wreaking havoc on all over the place. So stay safe out there. Keep your mask on. Derek, I'll talk to you on the other side. Thank you for joining me as always and helping me carry this show. Derek, just in case y'all haven't figured it out yet, Derek is a political genius here. I'm just kind of like the sidekick. That's all.
I don't know about genius, but I'm just here so I won't get fined. That's all.
Oh my God. Okay. Whatever. Man. Whatever, man. Listen, Happy New Year,
See
guys.
y'all next year.
See you next year. Bye, y'all.
You've been listening to Popcorn in Politics. What's the Real Deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your family and friends. To support the show, visit us on the web at www.popcorninpolitics.com. Connect with us on Facebook at Progressive Popcorn and on Instagram at Popcorn Politics Podcast.